we just got, Tim just went through our roll call. Hello Shay, how are you?
Hello, I'm good, how are you?
Good morning, There's Josh. Morning, sir. Okay, introduction of others in attendance, we'll start, this side, and we'll just go that way.
I'm Jill Brown.
Okay,
My husband Dan Brown is with me. And we live in Angel Fire.
okay, thanks for joining. Rocky, hello, sir.
Good. Rocky there.
And, you, sir?
Lauren Bell, the Enchanted Circle Trails Association, and we work throughout the entire Enchanted Circle region on things from traditional single track trails for hiking, horseback riding up in the Carson National Forest as well as BLM land, and then we also work with municipalities on paved bike paths, bike lanes, and larger infrastructure projects. So just working on ways to get people connected with, or get them out of their cars and get them outside and alternative modes of transportation.
Excellent. All right, we can.
Got one more.
Oh,
Josh Wares.
yeah, aren't you part of the committee now?
Good question.
I thought that you were in the process of.
We have that on the agenda.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay, fair enough. I guess I jumped the gun. Hello, sir.
Howdy.
Okay, then we can go ahead and move to comments, questions from the community or audience members. Does anyone have anything they'd like to say?
We do.
Go ahead. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Want to stand up,
Okay.
Yeah.
so like the camera can
All right,
see you.
I'm gonna try to do this, but I brought my back up because I cried about it.
Okay.
We inherited a little dog 5 years ago from our daughter who came here to study for the bar exam. And she started her own business in Denver. So we were left with her dog. And he would walk all the trails with me every day. I was retired now, so I could take care of the dog. And I took him for walks, he hiked the trails. He was a fabulous little dog. I'm just gonna pass around my phone, to show you who he was. You can just pass it around. He died tragically this year. He fell off of our balcony, which was a 30-foot drop. And he became diabetic, he became blind, he became deaf, he became arthritic, but we walked the lake every single day almost. And we knew everybody out there. And Joseph and Steve and all of them. And being blind, he knew his way around the lake. Anyway, I wanted to do a little memorial for him. And all I really wanted to do was leave a rock there. So I came up here and talked to Rocky. And I thought, I'm gonna be laughed out of the building about a dog. And he goes, look at this picture behind me. And he has a big picture of his dog, and his dog died tragically too. And he said, I think it's a great idea to have a memorial of some sort for the pets in town. Everybody practically has pets. Anyway, all I really wanted to do was leave a painted rock at the lake for him. And then I thought, well, everybody else is gonna wanna leave their painted rock. So maybe we could have an area where we have, and rocks are free here and, you know, doesn't have to be anything special. But then I came up and talked to Rocky and he brought it to this committee and I think y'all have expanded it and I don't even really know where it's going. But I was gonna show my idea of, if you know, Becky Lightfoot Cantrell, she babysat him when I couldn't take care of him if I had to leave town. And you had to have a really special caretaker for him. But she painted this. If you know Paige and Jerry Steed in town, he was best friends with Rocco, which is their dog, who also died up here. And she painted a rock. Cause she wants this put, if we do a memorial. And then, I'm just giving you ideas of what my daughter painted this because he was always at the lake. And she put a QR code and you can scan it and see pictures of things. Anyway, I'm just giving you an example. And without it making trails messy or anything else, it's just, and I got the idea of walking around the lake one day and apparently some man had lost either his girlfriend or his wife. And he had a painted rock memorial and it wasn't there long. But I thought that was the sweetest thing along that trip. So I'm really just wanting a little, some kind of trail or memorial for Pam.
Thank you for sharing. That's it's very sweet. It's very special. And so I know that we definitely wanted to hear your thoughts. We wanted to get get you on the record for everybody to hear. I know that we are continuing to explore this. We're not sure where the committee is going to end up. We're certainly open to exploration, but at this point, we don't have like don't have much to tell you other than it is something that we will continue to address in the future and we'll kick it down the road forever, but it's
I'm willing to help in any way.
okay.
I really didn't intend for a whole lot of people to have to be involved. I would take care of
This is
myself.
government, ma'am. Everybody has to be involved.
But I just thought it's a simple way and it's a colorful way and it's just
Maybe at the dog park or something, maybe something.
Yeah, there's definitely some options. I know that, at least from my conversations with Attila, we want to try to keep it localized. We don't want a
Right.
bunch of random stuff on random trails, but it's something that we'll continue to explore.
And we'll schedule it as a future agenda item, and when we do, we'll notify you so you know what meeting
She's been, and
addressing.
Leona's been great at letting. me
Right,
know.
and she's been relaying your messages, and we had some other pressing things we're trying to get done
Sure.
right now, so we said, well, we can't just in a matter of 10 minutes come up with a
Comprehensive plan.
We want to schedule it as a future agenda item, we'll kind of be front and center. And let you know, and then one issue we have too is some of the trails are village trails and some of them are resort trails, so. Even if we say decide something, but it's like, if you say really want the memorial at the lake, that's a resort trail, so we would have to coordinate. Even if we want to do something, well, the resort may or may not want to do the same thing, so we
Right.
would have to coordinate something, so we probably have more flexibility here on anything that's village owned. So like the dog park would be something we would have more control over versus say the bike trail.
And just to let you know, what discussion in the past has been is that we want to do something like that near wherever the dog park, we're not absolutely sure the dog park's gonna stay where it is.
Okay,
And if the dog park get moved and we've already done something down there at the current dog park, then so we can't really finalize a decision until we finalize a decision where the dog park is gonna be.
Right.
no
So,
problem.
but we want to do it. We want to do it where the dog park's going to be.
Permanent.
Permanent, yes. So it's gonna be kind of a future item when some other things get decided.
No
first.
problem.
And what we do, like Matt says, I think we're looking at something more centralized instead of having memorials scattered right around trails, because there are some pets, people, benches that are, dedicated to the memory of whoever, and we're trying to get away from having, any kind of memorials just scattered all around the trails. That's been our initial thoughts.
Okay, I love it.
Yeah, if you just bear with us,
I
bear
really
with us.
never
You're-
expected it to
We
go-
move at the pace of committee and government, like it is painfully slow, so.
I never
thank you
expected it
thank you for your patience
go
with us in
beyond.
this matter.
Good to see the examples.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
thank you, and I'll grab my phone, whoever.
I believe it's been returned back to your seat.
And I made him come up here because I didn't think I could do this and I gotta get him back to work.
Of course, thank you very much for coming.
Yeah, that's what we'd like to schedule the audience
Thank you
stuff
so
first,
much.
and then you don't have to stick around.
Okay, fair enough. Okay. You just need mom and us whenever we need to. Any other questions, comments? All right, do we have consensus on the approval of the May 15th, 2025 minutes? Any changes, recommendations? Speak now or forever hold your peace. I will take silence as consensus, so approved. Do we have any changes to the agenda as written?
I think item 2, the trail race, that was something Elliot was gonna talk about. but
Okay, since he's not here,
So
so,
I think we should defer that.
I think, yeah, let's go ahead and remove item 2 off the agenda for today and postpone it to the next meeting. Is everyone okay with that? I will take silence as yes. Cool. The agenda is now approved. Moving on, to act a proposal and a meeting with Lauren Bell. Mr. Bell, the floor is yours, sir.
All right. You need me to stand up or are we good?
You're showing up,
Oh.
you're showing up on the camera.
However you feel.
Hey, look at that.
Yeah.
We're documented, we're official. Yeah, so thanks again for having me out here. I think we're here just to continue the conversation and have a little bit of follow-up on ways that the Enchanted Circle Trails Association can work more closely with Angel Fire and on trails and the projects and the things that we are currently working on and some of the things that you folks are working on as well, and how that might look moving forward, whether that's in an official contract and agreement arrangement or even just as an ancillary support. I mean, that's one thing. We, as an organization, are dedicated to helping to, as I said, develop, maintain, and promote our trail system throughout the entire Enchanted Circle region as a collective, and want to make sure that Angel Fire is a big part of that, especially as we start talking about multi-agency, multi-partner projects. A couple of things that come to mind immediately. I have a meeting hopefully next week with Eagle Nest, both Eagle Nest State Park as well as the Village of Eagle Nest. And one of the things I know is on kind of their mind is revitalizing the talk of a connecting trail between Eagle Nest and Angel Fire. And I think you guys have also been thinking about that, talking about that. I'd love to get from you kind of your current thoughts on that and the status of where that's at. And even if I know this conversation started, 10 some odd years ago, I don't have current plans, or if anybody even did an initial brainstorm drawing a line on a map or something like that. That'd be great to be able to take to Eagle Nest and kind of help facilitate that conversation. Another conversation I know is on a lot of people's minds is talking about easements between the Village of Angel Fire and maybe Angel Fire resort properties onto the National Forest. And I will say, with the changeover of the current National Forest Administration and staffing, this might be a really great opportunity because we have a good ally who is in we had good allies in the Trails Committee before, or on the Trails Department before at the National Forest, but now, Ben Harper, who many of you may know, who has worked up here at Angel Fire, and he currently patrols up here, but he's also worked out at Philmont Scout Ranch on trails. He's kind of running the trail shop right now and has the ear of the district ranger to talk about, hey, can we talk about some easements so to formalize these trails like the Ho Chi Minh Trail, or maybe a connector up by the power line to Elliott Park or things like that. And then broader projects that we're doing as well with the promotion of trails through our trail brochures. Dropped off a bunch over here at the Village of Angel Fire Visitor Center. That just, those are free, but they provide people with an opportunity of, hey, what's going on around here? Updating trail information, things like that. So, we've talked before about some of the many projects that we're involved in and working on. And so I guess at this point, like I said, I'd like to get some of those updates from you guys, and then also kind of see what we're thinking as far as moving forward with some kind of a partnership or agreement. So. Any thoughts? Go, you got it.
One of the things that you guys do is put up kiosks that have the whole larger scale map of ECTA trails in
Correct.
the area. We don't have anything like that.
Right.
Edgar Fire has the broader area. Is that something that with permission of the resort, if it's on the resort property or the village, is that something that you can help us to include in updated signage so that we
Yeah, absolutely. We've got the template, we've got the map. We'd be happy to work on that. You know, that might be, or that would be a spend on for lodgers tax funds.
Yeah.
And things like that, because that's directly, you know, deals with promoting. tourism.
And your current ECTA map, I don't think includes Angel Fire trails. Is there any plan to include those Angel Fire?
It does include Angel Fire trails up to the bike park. It doesn't have every single trail on the bike park. It has
No,
kind of like
that's the bike
a trail
park.
area, but it does have the green belt trails.
Does it have
and,
the-
and then west of
Has
this.
that been updated since I last saw it, or is my memory just that bad?
I'm gonna plead the fifth on that.
So Lori, would that map be this map that's that Red River kiosk?
Right,
So
yeah,
it'd be the same.
Yep.
That is the current probably version then.
yeah, so that, and the way that map works is it has the overview map of all the trails in the Enchanted Circle region, all the current legal trails, and we are updating because a couple I realized got missed off of it, but then it has 3 call outs. It's like, hey, here are, you know, you're standing over Red River, there are 3 trails near where you're standing that you might be interested in exploring in the Red River area. If you're here in Angel Fire, then it's a different 3
Call-outs,
trails
right.
that are called out. It gives a little short description on them. And yeah.
That kiosk is like near their, what they call their convention center
Correct.
or event center.
Right.
Yeah, it's right at the entrance to the nature trail, the Riverwalk trail that they have right there at the convention center.
And we would kind of have to settle on where the best central location for a kiosk like that.
Which may be depending on how this Liberty Square progresses.
Might be.
Where we have the trail entrance
Where-
going from Liberty Square out to the
Might be
Frank County Trail.
Well, the visitor center is gonna be over there too.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
And I think even that plan even actually shows a kiosk right where the trail goes over from. Like I think where it goes from, the field over here to the Frank County Trail, it actually got plans that show a kiosk right there. That might be.
Might be nice to have.
Like, so it'd be a village.
If we do more than one, it might be nice to have one at the end of the tier trail. Because that's kind of the most central of the greenbelt trails.
And on the subject of signage, one thing I forgot to mention that we are currently working on is we're working with the Enchanted Circle region. It's being fiscally sponsored by the Village of Taos Ski Valley, who received a Trails Plus grant to help us develop a more comprehensive regional sign plan for the Enchanted Circle region. And the idea of that being when somebody comes to hike on the trails at Angel Fire and they learn how the map works and how everything looks, and then they go to hike on the trails out at Red River, they're not having to relearn a new language and symbology and everything, but it has a familiar feel to it, and it has some consistent branding. It's like, hey, you're in a region that collectively cares about trails. But at the same time, and this is the trick, so we're subcontracted with Gizmo, who is a branding and design company in Taos. But the idea is that it has that consistency, but it also has flexibility so that it can have Village of Angels Fire branding and feel to it, as well as the kind of consistent Enchanted Circle Trails branding. And so, like I said, it's similar but flexible, so it has each of that kind of unique entities for each region. And so that's starting up this summer, and we're gonna definitely incorporate you guys in that communication as we're figuring that out. And so, and that's hopefully going to be everything, similar to this regional kiosk, but then also trailhead signs for, hey, you're about to hit the Greenbelt trails. What do these symbols mean? What information is being presented? ADA information, things like that. And then also potentially, or as part of that, whether you choose to implement it or not, signs along the roadway, like, hey, here's turn left, you can hit these 3 trails, turn right, you can hit those 2 trails, you know, things like that to guide people to those trails.
You got to the point where you have examples of what the sign is gonna look like.
Was that?
Yeah, have you gotten to the point where you have examples what the sign?
No, we're just starting, but that's what the outcome will be, is like, hey, here's what it looks like, and we're even thinking, you know, shaping of signs, like there's any number of things we can do to have that, kind of consistent branding, but color schemes might, you know, flex to relate to each individual entity or something like that.
Have you been involved in developing e-bike policies for trails?
Not directly, but I've been getting a lot of feedback from our community and folks who are very passionate on one side or the other of the issue. I will say one thing that seems interesting that I've been learning a little bit more about is the village or the city of Park City, Utah just came up with a new e-bike policy. That is anybody over the age of 65 or has, and I believe I gotta double check the details, or has like a blue mobility placard for their vehicle can get a e-bike license for the trails, so that it's trying to kind of meet the sweet spot of e-bikes are a great addition for people who may or may not be, you know, be as capable on a regular bike, but wanting to try to minimize just the complete overrun of the trails by people who are young and energetic going at 30 miles an hour, running people over with e-bikes. So it's yeah, it's an interesting balance.
Interesting concept.
Yeah.
I'd love to see the thought and what the final policy is for the Park City.
And the trick is currently the National Forest and the BLM has, you know, none of the non-motorized trails or no e-bikes allowed. Those trails can change, but that process. And so if there are trails on, you know, like if as a community, it's like, hey, wouldn't it be great if the LA Parker Trail was open to e-bikes? Then that's something that we can start looking at that process of, okay, let's work this through the Forest Service to get that officially designated as a.
And if e-bikes, then which e-bikes?
Correct.
What class of e-bikes?
Which is a tricky one, because you can make those regulations, but nobody's going to necessarily be able to enforce that. So it's basically, once you open the floodgate to e-bikes, although you can say it's only class 1 or class 2, you got to assume that pretty much all e-bikes are going to be on it, unfortunately. But
You guys, in this, where you're developing the common signage,
Mhm.
is there gonna be any signage, or is that one thing that they would develop? You'll be developing signage for e-bike, either prohibited or e-bikes allowed?
yeah, making that clear is definitely an important part of more modern signage, given that it's something we didn't have 10 or 15 years ago that we were thinking about. So, yeah.
Because all of our trails are heavily labeled, and then with signage is non-motorized, you know, no motorized vehicles, but it's not clear if that includes e-bikes or not. But if we had to replace all that signage, it would be expensive. Whereas if there's signage that could be, if we did determine that e-bikes are allowed, that there could be some signage added, you know, that it's non-motorized vehicles, but e-bikes are allowed or not allowed.
Right, yeah.
Patrick, what's the resort's e-bike policy, or do they have a definitive e-bike?
Yeah, we
policy?
allow class 1 and 2.
1 and 2.
Those are the e-bikes.
And those are pedal assisted ones, right?
Unless you have a handicap ability or something, but generally it's pedal assist. And since we are a private mountain, we can do that.
Yeah, and frankly, I think that our village policy has to mirror the.
Right, well, because some of those trails merge into each other, so you can't have one be different than the other.
Yeah.
And luckily, since we're not in Park City, we don't have that influx of 20,000 e-bikes out there. I'm not saying it'll never get there, I don't think it will. We have seen an increase of e-bikes on the mountain, but not what we expected. We thought it's just gonna run down, especially during COVID, for that case.
There is quite a bit on the green belt.
Oh, there's a lot on the green belt.
Yeah,
And they don't see that motorized as being to them.
Right.
And you know, class 3, you can get up to 35 miles an hour. I think that's a hazard waiting to happen on some of these trails out there. You got some blind spots and somebody coming at you 35 miles an hour.
My biggest goal is to keep the damn cert on, so motorcycle.
Is that what a class 3 is, like a Sur-Ron?
Yeah, but that's not even, that's a dirt bike.
That's fair. That's okay, that's fair.
I mean, we have local people here that have those Sur-Rons, and our goal's been targeting those people, getting them off any trail we see them on.
I mean, Lord knows that when we had Geo Limited here, they were going at 30, 35 miles an hour. But I mean, it's a handicapped kind of vehicle. But you can't limit them, but they were fast, moving.
That is something you can also help us with, is assessment of trails for adaptive usage.
Yeah, and that's one of the, we're developing a protocol I talked a little bit about last time, modeled after. I forget the company that does it, but it's basically
As you come see Larry.
doing a survey of the trails that we know what the maximum, what the maximum step up you're gonna find, the maximum off, the narrowest width you're gonna find, and so providing that information at the trailhead so that somebody can make an assessment as to whether they personally are capable of riding their adaptive bicycle on that trail or not. As opposed to saying this adaptive trail is a blue trail, which is kind of vague, and different people have different skill sets. So that's one of the things, like, so we were piloting that, testing that out, and then coming up with more, consistent, criteria and measuring protocols, assessment protocols, so that we have that, and that's part of that signage is I know where to look on the sign, I know what information is gonna be in what order, kind of like the ingredients list on the back of your cereal box, you know where to look for the sugar. You don't have to kind of figure it out each time, like, where does it say? It's like, oh, boom, it's right there. I know where to look where that maximum step is gonna be, or that steepest grade, or that narrowest width.
And they can go into the forest too.
They can,
It's an
yeah,
extension of their bodies, so
Yep.
that's confusing to other people that see them out there and then
right.
follow them.
Yeah, adaptive bikes, it's all, because they are considered wheelchairs or, mobility, assistant.
So is that like a deliverable? Cause I know that, and I could not find my journal this morning to save my life. I can't find my hat either. So, but I know that was something that we were hoping that you could, like a tangible deliverable would be to get a full assessment of at least some of our trails to use as pilot programs so that we could follow up and get the rest of them done. So would that be something that would fall in that $15,000?
So I would say no, that would not, but what would fall into that
Okay.
is us then helping to find funding to work on projects like that, because that does take a certain amount of time in the
Sure.
field and technical work. So the agreement, the general agreement, to give that broader view and parse that out a little bit, is recognizing the fact that as a region, as we develop trails and promote our trails, that helps every community. So, the rising tide lifts all ships kind of an idea. And then the work that the Enchanted Circle is currently doing and continues to do does have tangible value for Angel Fire, and that's the promotion, the knowledge base we have, the expertise that we have, the conversations that we're having with the Forest Service and BLM, our Adopt a Trail program, which the Trekkers is heavily involved with. Programs like that all have that value, and as we continue to build those out and continue to expand, having a more formal connection with the different communities and entities within the Enchanted Circle helps to support that work, kind of the general overhead and management of the Enchanted Circle. With that comes we're writing grants, we're coming up with projects, we're setting up meetings to develop different proposals and move things forward. And so for an assessment of these trails, I think that'd be a slam dunk for a Trails Plus grant, or something along those lines. And whether that's the town that goes for that, or whether that's the, Moreno Valley Trekkers, if as a nonprofit could apply for that. Like, there's ways that that's what we do, is that support work to help people develop those proposals, and then we get the funding for that, and then either the Trail Association is able to do that, or we subcontract with somebody who has more expertise or capacity to do those types of projects. So it's basically, we'll with having the agreement in place with Angel Fire, just puts our focus fully on, okay, let's hit the ground running and bring these projects online and make these things happen.
Gotcha, makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Does anyone else have any other questions? At the moment? Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for your time. I know that we'll need to have, once again, moving at the speed of government. We gotta have a meeting, then we gotta talk about the meeting, and then we'll have another meeting about that one.
Right. Yeah, and then anytime, happy to chat, and I'm always happy to come and join your meetings, not we're specifically talking about what we're doing, but also staying abreast of what you guys are working on and thinking about, and because it's always that idea of where can we, how can we help each other out? Because ultimately it's going to be stronger when we're all working together to make things happen.
Yeah, I guess the more you know about what we're doing, the better you can help us.
And that's one more, I guess,
No, go ahead.
last plug on what we're doing as well. I've been threatening for a while, but we're finally getting the framework in play. Trying to figure out the name for it, maybe the Trail Salsa. We're field testing that, but place where we're mixing everybody together. So having a representative from Angel Fire, a representative from Eagle Nest, a representative from Red River, as well as a representative of the hiking, trail running, mountain biking community. So a working group that meets either monthly or bi-monthly or every other month, maybe is the right word, to make sure we are all on the same page and they can come and learn what everybody else is doing within the region, report that back out to you guys, your representative, bring that back. And so just formalizing that communication about what we are all doing in the way of trails and connectivity within this region. And I think that's going to just help everybody get stronger. One of that Global Opportunities Unlimited, who's the group that came up, was doing some of the accessibility assessments. They're kind of, we're working with them, they're working with Eagle Nest and Questa, we're working with Eagle Nest and Questa and you guys, and so it's like, we're all having these conversations, but let's get a central repository so that we have a regular check-in and get inspired and help support each other, so.
And I know that we're moving forward with some proposals with the Frank Young Trail that we gotta talk about today. But those are things that if we were to contract with you, that we could lean a little bit more on your organization to say, what about this? What about that? Who do you recommend for this? Is there something that we didn't see in this proposal that we're gonna get blindsided that's gonna cost us $40,000 because we had an oversight because we didn't know to ask that question or something like that?
And we can help draw up those RFPs, draw up those grant proposals. I mean, that's a lot of the stuff that we provide as part of that.
Sure.
Like I said, we just got Taos Ski Valley $100,000 to do a master trail plan for the village, as well as the sign plan, as well as some trail construction work. And so that was what we did for them.
Sure.
That helps to expand their capacity. So that's, I guess, 1,000-foot view is our reason for existing, is to help you guys and other entities and the community as a whole just keep things moving forward, keeping focused on these hounding stuff, because I know all of you guys have other jobs and attention, things that are pulling your attention in other directions. So we're kind of here to kind of keep that singular focus and try to make stuff happen.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. Any more comments, questions? Okay. Thank you very much.
I'll hang out and hear about all the other good things.
That's fair. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, then we can move on. We're skipping item 2. Go to item 3, follow-up and status reports on prior items. I guess we have Frank Young Extension Trail, status of property rights and review design proposals from Dennis Engineering and Consensus Planning. Not sure who to turn the floor over to for that one, but
Talk about the resort portion of it, that was Rocky. This John Kitson ownership wants to see the map that I got him in color.
Okay.
So now Rocky is working with Carl. Hopefully to get his map developed somewhere.
He didn't save it electronically, so he doesn't have what he sent you. So he needs that in order to create the color.
Which is possible.
wait, so what happens or?
I guess it's wanted a map,
Sure, I remember that part.
and Carl overlaid the trail on that map, which helped.
Uh-huh.
However, he wants a color version of it.
Oh, gotcha.
And so I went to Carl and said, can we get a color version of that map? He says, I don't remember what map I created. And I didn't keep it,
Oh, nice.
so
I have the hard copy, but he does know
that's what he
what
will
we're
be.
trying to do.
Yeah, okay,
It's a
gotcha.
matter of doing it fast now.
Okay, copy.
Getting Your printer that prints color.
Right, exactly. We have several printers here we could print.
So with that said, just brief discussion, I think we need to think of Plan B, Plan C, and since the resort does not. Engage in this subject.
Gotcha.
So we do have an idea for Plan B. You want to talk about that?
By all means.
Okay. I was mentioning this to our planning and zoning folks here, and he was suggesting that we amend the and be in the name easement, the utility easement to be a utility and trails easement.
Interesting.
And we can do that in-house right here in our council.
And is that like retroactively? So would that was, so let me make sure I understand. So an option we have is instead of it being just a sewer easement, we can go back and say it is a utility and trails easement, and that jumps up to where, like, that applies retroactively to that same easement to where now we can, like, now just build a trail on it, and we don't have to have permission.
That's the thought. That's the strategy.
I don't
That doesn't
think
make
you-
sense to
I don't
me.
think you can do that.
Because the landowner grants the easement,
Yeah.
so I don't
It was a
think,
suggestion by the planning.
unless it's like
Okay.
eminent domain.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, eminent domain. you-
Sounds like
you
a
know,
declaration of war in a lot of ways.
Well,
utilities and stuff like
it'd have to be
that,
an
you
open
do that.
forum and everything.
Of course.
I mean, essentially, that's what we were gonna do anyway, is we were gonna take the utility easement and have the resort for a recreational easement for the trail, that's what we were trying to
With the
do.
resort's permission, and
Right, so I mean, yeah, I don't think that.
it sounds like doing a back door on the resort.
No, no,
Lauren, do you have any insight
That would be
into the legality or lack thereof?
It ultimately does, well, my understanding would be with the landowner, like, you can't just say, oh, hey, we're adding this other thing to the easement.
Unless you were doing.
And I'm not sure that was the
Eminent domain.
implication, that might have been with the, but make it formal, whether the resort would
Yeah,
have to respond to it.
yeah, but that's essentially what we were trying to, anyway, do is just get a recreational easement on top of the utility, but the resort has to agree on, it, and that's what they're maybe not.
Sewer, maybe one thing, walking a trail is
Different, right. So we have other options.
Purchase the land.
Yeah. So.
I mean, do we
we're trying to
have,
Work on that.
have you gotten to the point to where, has that conversation happened where kids, like, did kids or Alan?
We're
toss
working
out?
on that.
It was
Okay.
mentioned, I did mention it as
Copy.
a plan, and there is a,
I'll take it.
it's a piece of land that could be sold, that's what it comes down to.
Everything's for
Yeah,
sale.
everything is for sale, fair enough.
So the village buys it.
More importantly, look at the land, what else can be done there if that was to happen, because that's a
Yeah.
pretty serious plot of land, so what other values to the land, not just the trail.
We
The acres
discussed
are in that
it,
piece.
I discussed it with Brett last week, so we're
Okay.
just trying to work on that.
Gotcha.
So.
Sizable.
Mhm. And cost.
They still got the sewage in that sewer?
I don't know.
They are, and.
They are.
But it's legal and they have permission to do so.
And we're gonna walk that trail.
Well, I mean,
Sewer.
There might be some, different protocols that go in place.
Yeah, don't light a
Trail
match,
walking,
don't
I
light a
know. I'm sure that's something that,
Oh, my God.
Other
I can't believe
options
that's
were
legal.
completely look at a different trail and, maybe it's on the side of the highway, which nobody wants.
Right,
It's been
that
a
sucks.
I mean, we see that, going to other ski resorts, we do see trails on the side of highways. This is not an extremely busy highway, like this is, but.
And
So,
the purchasing of the property isn't that far out, really, because, we're looking at phase 2 and phase 3 for our workforce housing as well.
Right.
is that commercial or is that, do you have any idea what? No idea what it is.
What's that?
If it's commercial land or
Um,
zoned.
it would be zoned, or something.
I
That
think
sounds.
it's,
Well, I mean, I guess we do have a planning commission that
Right.
we can zone it whatever we want.
yeah, but I think it's a D zone,
It might be a
honestly.
C.
I really do. I think
And our,
it's a C
our current
too.
workforce housing location was C, and we
Yeah,
converted it to R6, because of course we're putting modular there, I mean, manufactured homes. That would not be the case in phase 2 or phase 3. So, just a thought. Yeah.
You think long term.
Along the road's not too bad either. I mean, this is just a destination trail. It's not that pretty. It's not like I'm gonna go hike on it and look at stuff or even bike it. It's just, you go down fields, you go to this high school.
yeah, but
So
if
it's
you're,
just a
you know, if you're
destination.
starting at Allen Fields and you're doing a running event or a biking event, you're starting there, you know, going through instead along the highway just seems more.
I can
Enjoyable.
see more
Yeah.
running. I can see biking. It's
At the end
too
of
short.
the day,
Well, no, well, connecting from there, you know, connecting.
that's the
and then-
thing, we have a Frank County trail that ends at a fence line, that's been like that for 20 years.
Right.
The extension of that, would be why we're all here, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if the village owns the land too, there's a lot more options to lay that trail out. You can make it more closer to the wetlands type trail.
You could, yeah,
You can get further down a little bit to the
Yeah.
wetlands.
sure,
And make it more, look more like the existing Franklin.
right.
Yeah, and so there's one plot of land is 196, that's the big plot behind the property back there. That's the focus. We do have another plot, 192, 193, I think. It's just a little sliver.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully,
But I think we can manage that,
yeah,
hopefully.
Manage the sliver.
Yeah, it's on the sewage and the lagoon levees right there. We
Yeah,
walked it.
right.
We know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I remember now.
Like, if we, and I can't speak for.
Of course.
Don't do that or not, but I would really persuade them to.
Yeah,
196, I get it.
it's a big piece of
it'd
property.
be like, hopefully, I mean, we could do like a contingency. You know, hopefully, if that came to that.
And we still don't have official approval from the CS Ranch.
Yeah, we do.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, we,
They
that's
had
all
a
been
meeting.
approved.
Everything.
Yeah. Yeah, they approved that.
I mean, we don't have a recorded easement, but we've got their, well, I mean, we'd eventually have to get a recorded easement.
We do have a recorded utility easement,
Oh, okay.
and we're gonna stay on that.
Okay, easement, we would have to actually get a recreation easement there.
Yeah, yeah, it would.
Okay.
Yeah, so
were
there would
pretty
be,
good.
yeah, there'd be
No point.
title, you know,
Yeah.
title work to do
And no point. in
with
doing
all of
that.
those easements.
Yeah, no point in doing that until we know we can go all the way.
Yeah, yeah, and then gates,
Yeah.
we gotta design gates for that.
So to finish up, my little plug was.
Sure.
I'm on hold with the resort.
I gotcha.
Is working on map with Carl. They're fully aware of what we're trying to do, the vision. None of that's the problem. It's just the land.
Sure, makes sense. I mean,
And
it's their property, you gotta do it right by, you know, the longevity, the planning of the resort and whatnot. I guess that also then makes me wonder, I mean, we can look at these, we can look at the proposals that we got from Dennis Engineering and consensus, but until we have some sort of pathway forward, I don't know how applicable the quotes are, cause if we're not gonna be able to go through there, then.
Well, you can go ahead and give your recommendations.
You can
on
go
the
ahead and look
quotes.
at it and see what
And that
each
way-
is offering.
right, 'cause
Sure.
Because they are different.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
This is $40,000 difference.
Yeah. At least.
Yeah. Is there, so,
But there's-
I don't wanna,
There's what?
There's a reason that,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah,
they're
that
not
would,
even,
yeah, it'd be good to, yeah, if you guys can enlighten us on.
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
because we were surprised.
Well,
first.
we received these two quotes, and I was very curious because, you know, one was 90-some thousand, one was 45, and the only, well, the only thing that I was thinking is that, the scope of work that we created and our funding source is public information.
Yeah, you can tell the wonder, evidently, was the wonder of that.
I won't say anymore, but one of the vendors asked for a copy, and of course I had to give it to him, and of course the quote came close to that. But in further looking at the quote from Consensus, They have printed out or included our scope of work in the back. And they've check marked all the items that they can do for this money. And they've unchecked those that they can't.
So they can do nothing?
They cannot do the engineering.
Isn't that what we engage them to do though?
I know, but they
Oh,
said-
okay,
but
I'm
they
just,
said-
I'm just trying
No,
to
there's
make sure
two
I'm on,
things. There's two
okay.
things that we're doing, okay? We asked them to do designing and engineering, okay?
Okay,
So Consensus can do a lot of the design work. They
gotcha.
could not do the bridge, they could not do the design of those things, there's three items there. And so that, to me, that made the difference of the vote.
So the
$40,000.
actual engineering part, that Dennis engineering.
That Dennis
makes
engineering
up
does,
the
yeah.
difference.
Now, I had talked with Dennis Engineer and I asked if he'd be willing to work with Consensus and he really wasn't. He wanted to do this on his own. Of course, he can subcontract if he wants to do some of those things. Some of the amenities along the trail we talked about, some of those things, that's not really his forte, but on the other hand, Consensus sent me this little map here. And it shows a lot of the amenities that go along the trail.
Thanks, sir.
And I thought that was rather interesting. I only have that many copies. I thought that would be very interesting because we could actually provide this to, if we agreed on it, we could provide this to Tappan and he could incorporate this in the design.
Yeah, I think as far as these go to, it'll be nice to have some discussion on what we wanna have near the trails. Probably have a, I don't know, a community. Maybe
Yeah.
at the,
Oh,
is it too soon to have that, maybe, ideas like this for the weekend country club deals?
Think so, since we know.
Yeah.
Now, I think that was part of Consensus Engineering, is they were gonna have a community outreach part of
Yeah.
their
Unless you do like what
proposal.
of these, do something fun where they get the community's input on what they would want.
Exactly, that's what.
I mean, we already,
You were like-
Kind of vote or write on their top
Yeah.
three or something.
well, we're already I'm gonna be posted up there on Saturday. And I don't know the details on what I will have, but if we can add another poster, I mean, why not?
Like, would you want?
It's worth a shot. I don't know.
Workout, jungle gym,
Yeah, like mini parkour thing.
Tally mark here.
Yeah.
There was one more thing on Tappan's, proposal. He included surveying, which is about $12,000 on there, and it had already been surveyed, so if you took that off, however, now that we may need it surveyed again, at least that's included in there, so if we didn't need it surveyed again, you can take $12,000 off of his proposal
Right.
also. But we may need it now, so.
Yeah.
And our grant though is for $99,999 or something like that.
Yeah.
Plus our match.
Well, 50, yeah, half of it is our match.
Okay,
Half of the 99 is
It's,
our
it's
match.
2 for 1, okay, so the grant, we spent 100,000, we gotta come up with 50.
50, okay. So Tappan's, well, it covers the planning and,
He covers everything. He did put some assumptions in there, and one of the assumptions which you all talked about was, outlaying exactly where that trail is gonna be. Because
Sure.
of the concerns that we had with the resort. Access.
and they will actually engineer it as well, not just design it. So we get
Right.
everything done with Tappan
Yeah.
versus just the design
Yeah.
done with Consensus.
The engineering parts are the complete the necessary environmental compliance for the trail construction. Currently something they can't do. Complete necessary environmental compliance for placement of the prefabricated bridge across Cienega.
Synergia.
Yeah, and identify the prefabricated bridge alternatives. And purchase, delivery, and installation costs and all that, and they didn't feel like they could handle those 3 items.
So that would be installing it and everything, the bridge completely.
Well, this is engineering,
Oh,
this
Wow.
is design, this is not construction.
Okay, give us what they thought the cost would be to install.
oh,
is what you're
Yes,
saying.
yes, oh yeah, I'm sorry, they'll give you the cost for it.
Okay.
And Dennis Engineering has already got some ideas on that. He's got some people he's talking to already. So,
Maybe something similar to what the golf course does. They do some neat bridges, they're pretty simple.
did he do one on another trail?
Well, they did, they-
Buys those,
Yeah, Dennis Engineering did the trail here over by the,
solar loop.
yeah, but the other, going the other way, forget.
Yeah.
Where the beavers were.
Right, so the word Frank Young and Sullivan
Yeah, yeah.
come together.
And they did the bridges over there, it's really nice bridges.
Yeah, which are way more expensive, like the golf course, I think those golf course bridges wouldn't be long enough, I mean, this is gonna be a lot longer.
Those are engineers.
Oh, over the,
The golf courses are, pretty. They were like 6 foot long. or something.
yeah, I thought the
This bridge
Rio
is
was,
gonna have-
I mean, that's St. Creek.
Yeah, but I think it's, because it comes down into that valley.
Oh, that's
It's not
right,
just-
yeah. Yeah.
I have a question, Lauren,
Thinking,
if I could solicit something from you, does this sound reasonable? I mean, just hearing, like planning and designing a trail for 85,000, does that sound light? Does that sound
I
like
would
we're
say-
gonna take it to the cleaners? Is that?
It's tough to say, cause
Fair enough.
costs are escalating daily and then every project is unique. So
Of course.
as far as whether you're dealing with wetlands or, those considerations. But I would say, the, Taos County is paying for design of a less than 1 mile trail that I don't think is including engineering, that's costing around 100 grand, so. Seems reasonable if you've got, all the design, engineering and.
Sure.
If they're coming up with and how long is the Frank Young Trail?
It's is it over a mile? We walked in, we had to step, but I can't remember.
It's 5,000 feet.
So a little under a mile.
Yeah,
And we've got, wetland crossing.
And it's going up to the high school.
Yeah, we count both branches.
is this also including environmental compliance that you're gonna need for any of the, NEPA?
I would assume.
Well, consensus.
He did assume that we were gonna have a geo
That's for structure.
assessment. On a trail, I don't know why, but
Well, that was for structure, for like any kiosk, they said for any structures, they would need that.
geotechnical, yeah.
Geotechnical.
Since it's already been an easement for the sewer line and the trail to go, I wonder if that work's already been done.
Yeah,
There will be some additional surveys you'll need to do for a recreational use that, deal with like impact to neighbors and things like that come in. Only if, you end up, well, not only if, but if you end up using federal funds for any, construction, they'll definitely require, and then whether or not Angel Fire as an entity, the town's requirements for environmental clearance might be different, but I know that's one thing we've had in the past where because it was a federally funded project, we had to do a full NEPA, even though it was on private land, which.
I don't think we've had that discussion at all.
But it probably will be federal money, because we're probably looking at the Girls Plus grant for the construction. Our Girls Plus grants are not federal. They're
Those
state.
both are state, they don't fall under the federal, DLPA requirements for, project management and bidding and all that good stuff. But depending on the cost of this, and probably may exceed, if you're talking about a bridge and, whatever you're constructing out of it may exceed what a Trails Plus grant can cover unless, I guess they now have a $500,000 limit, so. that'd be good.
You have companies you use for stuff like this?
So we've contracted with a couple. We're actually working with Dennis Engineering right now on doing surveying for the bridges for the Quest and Red River Trail. We have 13 bridges that we're putting in over the Red River, so it's a pretty big process. Just for the surveying, I think it's around 100,000. And that's not even the design and engineering at that point. So And then we've also we're working with Beta Engineering out of Taos for the engineering of a paved path between Cape Taos and Arroyo Seco. And they're also doing the design elements, so kind of what more, the whole package that you're looking at within this, so. And that's also just one more consideration if you are, long-term, if you hope to use federal funds to build this. Then all the procurement process has to follow that federal TLPA process. So it sounds like you did go out to bid, and that required, 3 bids unless there's extenuating circumstances for why you can only do 2 bids.
Yeah. Well, we've already got a contract with them, so
Right, so you have a stand,
just addendum.
right, yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
So what are y'all general thoughts on this? Any input from this side? Yay, nay,
So
good, bad?
Rocky and Shay, did you have a recommendation? Between the two?
To me, the one with Dennis Engineering includes more of what we need, and it's more of a one-stop shop instead of doing some here and then doing that. So for me, I think that one makes a little more sense.
I go the same way.
What portion do they have to subcontract out?
Well, excuse me. I was thinking he would have to subcontract some of the amenities that we wanted along the trail because that wasn't his forte.
Yeah.
And then when I found that document, the consensus brought, I thought, well, maybe if you were all to agree on something like that, then that's what he could use to incorporate that into his design work. Ultimately, what we want is we want a trail that's completely designed along with the bridge, with expectations of the bathrooms and things that are gonna be at the end of the trail in the other project. With the amenities, so that we can go to phase 2 of this project with tier 2 and tier 3 funds and get it constructed.
I've seen several things try to include the pond south of Angel Fire Road. That's resort property, isn't it? Where the
Mhm.
beavers were.
That's resort property. We just have the easement on the
Yeah.
sewer, the trail part.
So we're really not allowed to do anything with that. It says here we have water play in it.
Well,
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 that's,
I think that was
just an idea.
Oh, it's just an
Yeah,
idea.
just like a possible
Well,
idea.
even the Liberty Square had some sort of, idol thing around there, wedding chapel or something.
Yeah, I mean,
And that's.
some of these
resort property.
things, some of these things are within the,
can't do that.
also within the existing Franklin
Now we're
Trail.
going in the wetland.
So I don't know if our grant really, they're only gonna be designing the new part.
Right.
So a lot of these structure type things are down here on the existing part. I don't know if that's.
Probably
They probably don't want
that-
this, that'd be a separate deal, I would think.
Yeah, exactly.
So what are just because we have 30 minutes left, try to keep moving. What are the next steps? Would it be our recommendation? Would we put that forth to council?
Well, that's what we were planning is Tuesday meeting, having your recommendation. However, like you kind of said, we're kind of stuck right now to where, I think we should wait to give the recommendation until we know what we're doing with the land, just.
Seems.
I mean, we give our recommendation,
Does that seem like a reasonable course of action to everybody?
Yeah.
If you think it's, if there's no clocks that need to be, if there's no, vital.
24 months.
well, and of course, they're waiting for an answer. The two are wondering what's going on, but it's kind of out of our hands right
Vendors
now.
are.
Well, the resort in, we're around in a year on this discussion.
Yeah,
This started this last year,
Yep.
so we.
I'm gonna push the color map, idea, hopefully that would make some headway.
Yeah.
I think plan B discussion, then.
And then the plan B, we need to know the amount of acreage and the cost.
Fair.
I'm working on that.
All
and
right.
we've already
Got this.
discussed.
As far as engineering, I think, with your little information there, this about the power project, this engineering is the way to go. It's a one-stop shop, whatever, we jump in with this.
And his proposal gave a lot more specifics, which I feel a lot more comfortable with.
For sure, specifics and contracts are good.
He had a lot of detail in there, number of feet, he had a lot of detail that.
Those are nice things, for sure.
Exactly, but we also want the amenities.
Of course.
I think that's where we need to help.
Okay,
We could contract that out later.
Could do
Right.
okay. I guess we can, just for like next meeting, we can revisit this, see where we are on everything. See where we are with the resort, yay or nay, if Plan B needs to have more energy put into it, or if it looks like we might be able to go forward with our original plan. Okay, cool. Thank you very much. I guess we'll just kind of move quick. New committee members. That's you, sir. I guess so. I'm a little confused in the process. So do we approve
So,
him here and then council approves?
right.
Okay.
So it would be Josh and who was the other guy?
It was,
James, Oldfield, what was his last name?
James,
Yeah, McElroy.
yeah,
Yeah.
is it okay? Where's he at? Where's James at? Can't even come up and speak for himself? Wanna be on a committee, can't even show up to get approved?
He works at WB Tennis.
Yeah.
No, for sure, I know,
Yeah, he
he's working down he works at with the transfer station, okay.
So what's the process? We make a recommendation, you take it to council.
Exactly.
Approval.
All right, well, I make the recommendation that those two gentlemen are approved to this committee. Any dissension? Silence is a resounding approval. Welcome.
Take that to when's the council meeting there?
I'll look.
24th.
I'll get with,
So that'll be
Leon
on
to
the
put
next,
it on
it'll
the
be in the
agenda.
next. Report.
Okay, and then logistics regarding the town hall booth. This Saturday, I know that I've volunteered to be there, and that's about all I know though. So does anybody have details on like easels, maps, posters? We're trying to get with Attila.
same thing that we did last year, cause we're still working on the same thing. from last
Yeah,
year.
right, fair enough.
Well, I mean, we were getting email correspondence, some maps, or it sounds like materials were.
Yeah, I'll get with Attila.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think they're being
Was it-
provided.
there was a kid.
Yeah.
There was a
Caroline.
comp plan meeting yesterday that they probably discussed, and so I'll get with Attila. And I'll figure out, I don't know if there are any other duties
Last time they did a survey,
necessary. I'm a little in the dark here on this one.
Yeah, I would say, talk to Attila, since he's on the comprehensive
Yeah,
planning committee, he's in the loop on this, and,
okay,
but it sounds like to me the materials have been produced.
okay, cool.
For us.
Well, I'll be
Because I
there.
think
I
that-
don't know I'll figure all that out. But is anybody else volunteering?
I'll try to stop in.
All right, cool.
Hang with you for a
I
little
got
bit.
the AFO stuff, obviously.
Okay,
so-
that's
I'll be
fair.
there, but I'm in the same
There.
boat. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, fair enough. Well,
Yeah.
Think somebody printed something.
I'll probably
off
have
for
to
me.
stop in, but I'm supposed to have a softball tournament also.
okay,
so-
copy.
I mean, people are gonna stop in and ask questions
Sure.
about trails and stuff, I think more than anything,
Yes.
they're just gonna,
Blindly.
what's happening, what's the village
I got
doing?
a bike race, so.
Cool.
So
All good.
it sounds like the annual meeting starts at 11, goes
The
to about
meeting, yeah.
noon.
And
Yeah, and then they have
this,
lunch
and then after.
this is like simultaneous with lunch, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
So you don't get lunch if you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I was gonna say, I'll leave. I can at least.
So it
do
sounds
that.
like it's simultaneous with lunch and probably.
A little bit after.
Finish lunch though.
Okay, cool.
People will want to eat first and then.
Where's it advertised at? Is it on the?
It was on the e-blast yesterday.
Facebook.
Not on the resort calendar, is it?
I don't know if that village.
It went out with AFO stuff like that,
AFO.
for voting and all that, it was on there.
It was, yeah. They were sending out an email yesterday. I didn't check to see.
Yeah,
when
there
that-
were, I saw the e-blast
I don't know if there was a question.
He said where it's been advertised for the village, that
Yeah.
they're calling it town hall meeting or something like that.
Yeah.
Because
Okay,
every department, right, or every.
yeah, there's supposed to be
Committee.
Yeah.
several different, like the airport commission's gonna have a table. The dark sky is gonna have a table, just try to solicit public opinion and comments and whatnot. Okay, cool. Then I'll see you guys on Saturday or not. Updates to the trails assessment checklist? Anything?
We've been back and forth with this a little bit.
Yeah,
I sent
A little
one
bit
out
less,
last
I thought.
night on a Excel check sheet. And I think it's more of a fillable form, or if you're out in the field with a tablet or laptop, you can kind of check this down. It's similar to the form I sent out earlier, but we just kind of condensed it a little bit. And we can use that for, you're going out weekly, monthly, whatever, to assess your trail. That's something you can use on your laptop and kind of do your checklist. What it is basically the questions that basically answer no to is something you have to address or look at or reevaluate. So I sent it out last night, and if you have that, you can review it. I think it's a little easier for a fillable form, like say on a laptop or a tablet if you're out in the field.
So, but in the meantime, you've gone ahead and you've done
I've done
assessments.
assessments, it was almost a month and a half ago, so a lot of things have changed in a month and a half. I know that the Sendero will be sold with that PVC pipe's already been fixed, so
I'm not sure.
a lot of things have been taken care of. I'm sorry,
We fixed that. Just-
it was,
Village? Okay, yeah.
and then, at the top of Sage, they've done a lot of work on Sage, the top of that, that's been, fixed as far as that, kind of scary downhill. A lot of the road crossings, I don't know if we really wanna put signs on every one of them that's saying there's a trail crossing here, or
It'd be nice to be consistent with Cougar and how that does work.
yeah, Cougars, they've done some things there, but there's, Sage crosses and some roads, and a few others cross quite a few roads.
I'm interested in, the communal trail signage actually, because we do want to update our signs and it'd be nice to be part of that.
Yeah, that's
I don't know
hopefully,
how far that out is though. That's-
we're hopefully this summer, we're starting to, we don't want it to be a 2-year process, so we're
Yeah.
hoping that'll be a 8-month, 10-month process,
So
not something
on
that's.
the resort side, we're gonna do.
let's go ahead.
Do, a lot of trail maintenance this season, but going into next season, I'd like to have a plan for signs and then blow the budget on signs.
That'd be awesome. That'd be a little bit. If I could on the trail assessment stuff, sounds like you got something that's going on. One thing we've been thinking a lot about is how to have, because trail assessment all throughout the forest and everything is something people are interested in. Nobody ever does anything about. We are pushing Trail Forks as instead of coming up with our own database, our own map or something like that, it's something people are already using. The nice thing about Trail Forks is you can filter, you can say, hey, I'm a horseback rider. What are trails that are recommended for horseback riding? Hey, I'm a hiker. What are trails? Started out as a mountain biking app, but it has since become more universally acceptable. What's neat on there is you can actually put in, I see a trail problem, and then if you're set up as an administrator, which we are, and I think I can probably grant you access, you can then flag that, assign that to somebody and it has kind of a database of these are problems that need to be taken care of, and here's when they've been taken care of. It's not the easiest to use interface is the only downside of that, but at the very least, I would like to encourage, if you got folks out there getting assessments of trails anyway, having them just takes a couple seconds to update Trail Forks and say, it's good to go, trees are cleared, no major problems, or, having that, because we're trying to push that as kind of a regional, here's where you get your trail updates, app, but.
Well, as you know, we adopted the Ellie Barker Trail from the Trekkers. And so Courtney, I've been working with her for Trail Forks to get some of that information in there for Ellie Barker. The only problem I'm having is the things I took pictures of and I wrote a report during the sections that we walk. I can't find it. I can't get it to show up.
Oh, interesting, okay.
So I need to get a hold of Trail Forks themselves as far as maybe a help desk or something like that.
Yeah, I've been working with the guy who, one of the guys who's kind of the contact with that. And so, yeah, if there are issues and problems, let me know, and then we can direct them to him and be like, hey, fix this.
Yeah, because that's kind of a universal app, so it's
Right.
good to have for those kind of things. And also we can incorporate it, I guess, with the Angel Fire trails too.
Yeah, and we've looked at cost benefit analysis of should we do an Enchanted Circle Trails app? But then people are coming to visit aren't gonna download one more app to their phone when they already have. And assessing everything from All Trails, Mountain Bike Project, there's a whole bunch of apps out there. Trail Forks seem like the most comprehensive and does the most things that we needed to do in this area. So that's.
I know he brought up signings. What do you suggest as far as signage? I mean, Carsonite doesn't sound like they want to go that route because it's fiberglass. And of course they break and fall over. And we're
Yeah.
trying to put up some wooden signs now in Elliott Parker on posts. So that's a challenge in itself to find a place to get into that trail and then dig a 3-foot hole
Right,
and, put up a sign.
carry a post.
Carry the post in.
Well, and then I guess they last a good little
Yeah.
while, but yeah.
But here we got some ones that are on posts with nice signs. So.
So I think that's part of what
There's
this
signs out there too.
with this plan we're coming up with, because there's also a difference between the amount of signage you want on a trail network like the Greenbelt Trails versus Elliott Barker Trail, which is more of a remote experience trail.
Correct.
And so Elliott Barker may be totally appropriate for wooden posts and signs, whereas on the Greenbelt, you might want to, 3-foot tall directional arrows, intersections, things like that, wayfinding signs. And so, yeah, they're depending on the specific needs. Or the feel of that trail, it could be very different on how it looks, but making sure that all those elements fit within that same ultimate theme and they're all similar around what we're looking at is our goal.
Hello, chief. Have any input? Have any input?
I'm actually wondering why I called this meeting. You guys have a great day. So your assessments, have you passed those along to Shay and to Patrick, or are you gonna redo them?
Well, I think that they just should get the template right now. Let them do the
Let them
assessment.
do,
Cause
okay.
I did it a month and
You
a
were-
half ago.
you were
Things have
practicing.
changed now.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, if Patrick wants to use that form, I mean,
So I
I
need
don't know if the
to,
resort has their own process or what.
I need to involve, and I did discuss this with Maya, I mentioned this checklist, which I do think is a good idea, but as I've mentioned before, we gotta be careful of.
If it's
what
documented,
we
it's
document
Yeah.
and what doesn't get.
Now, there's a
done.
paper trail.
There's a paper trail.
Cause if you document and don't do anything about
then
it.
it's, yeah,
I'm not saying that's the correct way to do it.
but
I mean, the bridge over here
Yeah.
is so.
it is a consideration though.
It's getting to the point where it's gonna get the same.
well,
thing.
no, I'm thinking the bridge over here, I think that possibly should be closed until it gets repaired up. Some of the, not only is leaning, but some of the slats now are so spongy, I mean, I think it's just a matter of time before someone's foot goes right through. And that could result in serious. Serious.
I like those composite material.
That stuff needs to be addressed. That's pretty simple. All the little stuff out there that.
Yeah,
we
but
notice.
that bridge is a major.
That's a major.
I mean, it's a major
It's no
hazard.
different than the Bobcat.
You might even think, you possibly could even reroute that trail a little bit where you can cross, because it doesn't cross the main street. You could probably swing out and maybe even get where you don't even need a bridge, I
And
don't
it
know.
did bring up to the resort. Or something, did bring up about the village reclaiming that trail, because we don't really know who manages that side, but the village does the east side. They should do the west side.
I don't know what happened.
Well, I was told it wasn't our property and I needed to stop
Yeah,
doing it.
at least until the bridge is fixed.
You have to fix the bridge.
There's a lot of people in that neighborhood that walk down that
As long, yeah.
just to get to the town.
Well, we have the lawnmower for it, that's, yeah. So, and they would fix the maintenance department, they're actually replacing another plank at the Bobcat one again, they've been keeping up on that.
You know,
The
the
Bobcat-
Bobcat, and I'll say it again, they've done a great job in the past year.
There's just
Actually,
a
doing-
couple of them, yeah.
Yeah, the Bobcat Bridge, the new one, some of those slats are cupping.
Yeah, he's actually came and talked to me and, he has the PO number, so that'll be fixed probably any day.
Yeah, cause that, where people are gonna catch their toes on. it.
Yeah, he said it was green and.
Yeah, yeah, I think they shrink up.
Yeah. Well, do you want me to tell him to go look at it, Patrick? Yeah. One less.
Sure. If they got time to take a look at it.
Yeah, I'll talk to him
What I
and see,
understand, it's a
yeah.
pretty small bridge.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it in over a decade, honestly.
Yeah, but I mean, it's gonna be some of what involved in fix, it's gonna have to have like new footings on your side.
Do we have any bridges that's
I'll
high
bring that
enough
up
to
too.
have rails
And we don't know what
on
you're.
the sides? I know the two we already have, those pre-manufactured have rails on it, but Cougar has one bridge that's kind of high.
And 36 inches, I think, is your.
How much?
36.
I don't know.
36 or 30.
The one crossing the creek, I put that in, and I wanna say I measured it at the time to make sure.
It's right eroded.
But it's eroded since then.
Now it's 4 feet. Okay,
Worth looking at again. That bridge out there.
and Cougar?
Well, screen notes in general.
Oh,
And really,
no,
No,
I mean, the other ones are on this side, that's those prefab ones.
looks like it,
Okay, moving on to our wrap up, review the assigned task and actions. Do we have any of those out there lingering?
I still haven't ordered the plastic containers for the maps. Forget.
are there some
I
out
was
there
gonna,
that are
I
there
was
shorter
gonna
ones
get
available?
some just to buy some, and if you
Yeah.
need to replace some.
There's
we
a lot
have
of
them.
them that have the maps in it, just have the rock below it to hold it
Yeah,
up.
That is a solution, just films.
Yeah.
Pretty rock, I mean,
Yeah. Some, yeah,
but I mean, some of the.
painted rocks,
Dull dirty rock or
yeah.
one of them was filled with dirt.
yeah, beer can, cigarette butts and dog food bags.
Yeah.
The map was on my action, and that's kind of handed off to Rocky at this point.
Fair enough.
For the colored mapper.
Yep, okay, copy. All right, so agenda items for next time. I guess probably plan, we'll revisit. Where you're at with the resort, if there's any movement, plan B movement, those type of things. What else? Do we want to carve out time in our next meeting to talk about the memorial, or should we push that one back a little bit later?
It'd be nice to get something on the dog park first, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Cause I think I could see like a walkway where it's lined with, I don't know, whatever, but.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so we'll push that one back. I guess we'll stay on the Frank Young, dedicate a lot of our energy to that.
You know, we will need to design gates for, going through, the CS
sure.
Ranch property.
That should.
Sure.
But now that he's a new member, I think he'll be a asset for that. Josh will.
Welcome to your first volunteer assignment.
Wouldn't that be part of the Genesis Engineering thing, designing the
I'm sorry, I
gates?
didn't hear.
I don't know.
The gates at the CS Rock Property Ranch Crossing.
Oh,
Did Dennis, I mean, would they come up with the gate design or something there?
we could probably ask them to. I mean, they'll come up with the trail,
Right,
to
right. It's
include
gotta
that
have
part,
gates
but
on each end.
yeah. But I don't know that that was included in this.
I don't think it would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we have the best gate designer sitting in the.
That's,
I mean, it could just be like you go through.
It was nice to
Maybe.
do that, but then the bicycles, I don't know if we could do a bicycle.
Well, just keep in mind, these gates are gonna be open
Right,
all the time and then
Shut,
closed
Yeah,
while
that's-
they're running, so it doesn't need to be
yeah.
I mean, it just needs to be, I would say a swing gate.
But something.
Yeah.
That it's gonna last.
yeah. What else? What else we got?
Gonna talk, finalize the.
Yeah, I think we should add that to the next agenda too.
Yeah,
He's been waiting.
Yeah, right? You're like, come on, get with the program. Hurry up, guys. It's fair.
And you'll be able to, we'll send out his proposal again
Yep.
for review for that next meeting.
Yep, okay, so I like that. Frank Young, Acta, Gates. And I guess we'll probably do like a recap of what transpires this weekend. Give a report, and we can factor that into our decision-making process in the future to whatever that might be, based on the feedback. Add that, and we'll do a little recap review. Anything else? Sounds like a full meeting to me.
Would the next meeting be?
We on to Thursday.
Did we switch to two? Cause that one,
We only switched.
it really caught me off guard. I was ready for Thursday, not today.
They were closed Thursday, village offices were closed this Thursday.
Oh,
That's why we were.
gotcha, cause I was under the,
Try to get back.
I was thinking Thursday and I got that Zoom alert. It's like, you have a meeting in 30 minutes.
Well, I know, Tuesday, another time, and I thought maybe it was a mistake, but.
Yeah, that's on me. I apologize for being less than prepared
We
for
probably want to
today.
try to get back to the Thursday. That's what everybody was used to.
Thursday, the 17th to 24th of July.
Are we still comfortable with once a month? Do we have enough stuff that we need to be meeting sooner than that?
Seems like we struggled to get agenda items for next time.
Fair enough, okay, so then, July the 17th, does that work for everybody?
That works best.
Okay, cool, next meeting, 8:30, July 17th. Okay. Anything else? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Cool, meeting adjourned, got 7 minutes to spare too.
You run a pretty tight meeting.
Thank you, everybody, much appreciated.